Will here from Mature Minded Gamers. We're at Gencon 2022 at the CGE booth, and we're here with Nathan, and he's going to show us some cool products. So, Nathan, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's been a pretty crazy con.
Yeah.
Keeping busy.
Pretty busy, absolutely. So what do you do for CGE?
I'm the North American marketing person for US and Canada. So I handle a lot of the marketing stuff for this side of the pond.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. Well, thank you very much for having us, and we're very excited for you to show us a game that was in our top 10 list. If you haven't seen that, make sure you check it out. Starship Captains. What can you tell us about this one?
Sure. So Starship Captains is sort of a medium weight Euro game love letter to sci-fi classics of the past. So it's inspired a lot by classics like Star Trek Next Generation, Galaxy Quest, Star Wars. There's a lot of like anything kind of like classic sci-fi. There's woven into some of the fabric of what makes this game visually and thematically kind of special. The designer, Peter Hofgaard, this is his first game. So we published it. He's really excited to like share this experience, being a huge fan, like a bit of Trekkie and very like, big, like classic nerdy energy. And so this game is really about being, some sci-fi games are very dark and they're like thematic about like blowing things up, but this game is actually about being a new captain of a starship. And its focus is really on being a good captain and working with your crew to do good in the galaxy. So instead of, so you have the first mechanic that's kind of the central piece is this sort of crew queue we have, where it's a bit of a deck building inspired element, but it's more of an action selection system.
Okay.
So you start each round, every player pushes all but the last 3 of their crew into their pool, and that represents the actions and things they can do in a particular round. So on the first round, each color of crew member does a different thing. So we've got the sort of the navigators that when you play them in,
or the red shirt.
Yes, the red shirts. They go to the back of the queue, and then that lets you move your ship around the galaxy. So you can move 2 spaces through different planets to kind of position yourself to do things on future turns.
Awesome.
Then, depending on what you're doing, if you cross through pirates, you get damage, which you don't want to do if you don't have to. But using the sort of the pew pew officer, like I guess they're called the security team per se.
Right.
You could then combat the pirates, where you would take some damage too, because pirates will fight back, and we don't really like fighting too much. But then you get to gain the benefit of what you get from that pirate.
Okay. So those are random?
Yes. So in this case, I would gain an android, which is useful for specific things. But then you also take the scrap from the pirate and you put it in your cargo hold.
Okay.
So that's the other rule. So then we've got damage on our ship because you're a new captain. They're not going to give you a ship that's like fresh and shiny because you might ding it up. So you have people that can do, they don't do much when you upgrade them, but they start off being able just to repair. So you've got the ability to repair some of your ship, and these are negative victory points if you don't repair them. So you want to actually keep your ship repaired and open. That gives you more opportunities strategically, of course, the game. Then finally, this is one of my favorite aspects, is the engine building sort of tech side of things. The science tech engineer can be used to obtain one of the cards in the supply and add it to your ship. Now, these technologies have different uses. You've got some that do end-game scoring bonuses. Oh, that one doesn't. You've got some that provide utilities that help you when you're doing things in the galaxy to get benefits. And then you've also got some that can be ship rooms on your ship that let you play some of your crew members to the ships to do additional effects beyond the basic stuff that you're learning.
Very cool.
The other thing you can do is when you're flying around to different planets, you've got this sort of cycling randomized missions on different parts of the star system. If you're in a planet, you have the ability to then, instead of doing a regular simple action, you could send a number of crew to capture that mission and complete it. So
away team.
Yes, you would basically send an away team. By doing that, you would capture. So bring this over to your player board, and you would queue up the type of crew you want. You can use any crew, but if you use the crew that corresponds to the colors, you get bonuses. So I would put these guys in here, and I would get the benefits of these. In addition to bonus points at the end of the game, you get some scoring for every mission you have.
Okay.
That's sort of the meat and potatoes of this experience. The galaxy is always cycling and shifting. Also, because you're helping other factions in the galaxy, sometimes you will have missions that give you bonuses that help a certain faction in the game. So there's 3 faction areas where you have a separate scoring track. You can navigate your way up that to get bonuses for scoring. And also there are some additional cards, which I don't have in this particular copy, that will benefit other players depending on when you reach them and unlock them for everybody. So in a nutshell, that's the gist of Starship Captains. It's really about being a good captain and exploring the galaxy, doing good across the the cosmos.
This game definitely looks amazing, and I personally can't wait to play it.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Definitely right up our alley of all the Star Trek podcasts and stuff that we have up on our channel. So definitely awesome. All right, so another one we have here is Deal with the Devil.
Yes.
What's this one about?
Okay, so Deal with the Devil is a sort of a kingdom building game set in a medieval fantasy world where you are different rulers trying to build the best kingdom you can by creating structures in your kingdom. It's a 4-player only game that's a heavy Euro with a mix of hidden deduction, hidden rolls, and there's an app that's used to kind of manage all the back-end information to keep the game flowing quickly, so you're able to focus on sort of your strategies and what you're doing. Awesome. There are 4 players only, but there are 3 rules that you can play. One person using these little cool treasure chests. Here, let me grab a couple of these. One person plays as the devil. They start off with lots of resources, but they don't have any souls. Their goal in the game, aside from building their kingdom, is to acquire souls from other players that helps them in a couple different ways. In certain rounds, the Inquisition comes to town, and they penalize players who cannot produce souls. They also have, when you reveal souls at different points in the game, you also get bonuses for acquiring them as the devil, and it penalizes others by potentially increasing the number of Inquisitors that can be faced by other players. So the devil wants souls, but they've got a lot of money to start. They just don't have any souls to begin with. So there's a balance between what they need to do in the game.
Right.
There's also, I don't have this back here, there's the Cultist, which has 2 pieces of soul, a little bit of starting resources addition to the regular base game resources, and then they can sell their souls, but also they would like to sell the soul to the devil because they get bonuses for doing that. They also can purchase souls from other players to replace some of those souls. Then there's 2...
So a little asymmetry going on.
Yeah, there's definitely, it's very asymmetrical. And each role plays very differently in terms of like how you can interact with other players. Then there's the 2 mortal characters have a full complete soul, which is these 3 pieces of creates a little circle thing. Each of these pieces of soul could be sold, or they can hang on to it, but you really kind of need to balance that because you don't start with a lot of extra resources. You just have the ability eventually later in the game to use tokens to kind of try to call out who you think is the devil and who is the cultist. And if you're right, you get points, and if you're wrong, then they get points at different points.
Okay.
So when you start the game, all of these 4 containers are randomized and shuffled. You scan the app, and it memorizes what the role is, and then assigns it randomly to a different player, but it remembers where it goes. So it'd be like, oh, here this one's the red player, this one's the yellow player, et cetera, et cetera. Then basically you open your role in secret behind your little player board here.
Which is awesome looking.
Yeah, it's multi-tiered. There's a lot going on there. And you take your components of your basically your character out and put it underneath here. So it's throw it on. And then this becomes used for trades. So you have, when you do a trading rounds, you have the ability to offer something to trade and then set the price, what you want for it. I'll explain that in a minute. We'll just dive right in. The flow of the game is fairly straightforward. It's very Eurocentric. So you start by getting some resources. You'll have a production wheel. This is a little rondel that changes every round. You'll start by each kind of quadrant is a player. You'll be getting some additional resources based on what you see on the thing. You'll get those into your thing, and then you go into the draw phase where you'll get a number of buildings. There's some light drafting, so you'll draft different directions depending on the round, but you'll get buildings that start off easy and then kind of weaker, and they get stronger as the game progresses. You get better buildings. This gives you some direction to how you're going to plan your turn, because if you look at the buildings, there's lots of resources that are required for them. They have different abilities and different bonuses that help you kind of figure out what direction you want to build in with your kingdom on a given round. You also gain a particular, in addition to buildings, you also gain an event card, which gives you the option to take a bonus of resources, typically to negatively affect your reputation, or to spend resources typically to gain a bonus in reputation. That reputation rule is important because it affects some additional penalties and things that come into play later in the game. Once you have all these cards ready, you will start planning your turn. But before you do that, you need to see what else you can get. So there's a blind trading phase that has 2 rounds of trading each round of the game. You'll make your offer. And for example, let's say I've got some resources. I've got maybe these wheat I want to get rid of. Well, I would want to set a price that's better than the market price. So I'm going to give a little bit of a discount and offer that in. And each player would then put their thing in the middle until everyone's accumulated, set what they're looking for. Some cases that'll be resources. Some cases you might be trying to give resources to, if you're the devil, you might want someone's soul. So you might put in a really juicy offer to try to encourage someone to sell a piece of their soul or more than one to you. When that's done, they're all shuffled and scanned, and they're distributed to different players. So you don't usually get your own back until the very end once the trading has been done. So you'll open in secret, decide whether you want the deal or not, and then either take the resources and pay the thing, or just shut it and include it back, and use one more round where you can see another player's chest and decide whether you want to. You might see a deal that's already been done, or you'll see another option for you to take. When that's done, you come back, you take all your resources if you have any bonus ones, and you plan out your turn. And this happens in secret behind your little sort of little castle that you have. This is, and so you reveal it later on once you put all your things in play. And you have a number of action points you're allowed to use each turn, so you can go 2 for free, or you can spend a wheat to get additional actions. Which side of the card you play, the event card, if you choose to use it, determines which event you're doing. So I'm going to say I'm going to take a hit in my reputation to get some additional resources per se. Then you would queue up buildings if you're going to do building, because you have 5 rounds, you need to build as much as possible, hence the need for more resources. So I would say, let's say I had enough to build this building, and then I have to build this building. Well, I would then place the resources I have on each, and then queue up my turn. When everyone's ready, you reveal, and you pick someone to start, and you just go around, complete your turn. So I would go, great, my turn, I'm going to do this. So I would then reduce, see, I'm this yellow color. I would reduce my my reputation by 2, but then I would get some additional resources here. That's useful because you really just need to keep cycling materials to keep building stuff. That's done and resolved. I would put my buildings into place. So this particular type of building has an event on it that an action you can trigger in future rounds, and that would go into a specific slot designed to let you trigger it by other spaces on your little player board here. There you go. So that would go in one of these slots here. Okay. But this is also, I would build this one too. So this is a general thing. So it would go separate in a separate area of the tableau. Okay. Each of these slots can be triggered by actions you place if you place a token on here. But they do different things. So you get victory points at the end of the game. You get some synergy. So there's a suit. And based on different suit combinations, you can gain achievements that let you boost your production. So you can put a slot to get a higher number of production in future turns. Or if you have more cards, you can get bigger achievements that would give you like a lot of money or some other additional resource. And those go they go into little banner slots of your little castle here. Okay. Once you basically finish your turn, everyone's done, you go to the interest phase. So at any point in the game, you can take out a loan, which is dangerous and risky, but can be really helpful depending on when you do it. If I take out a loan for 6, that's great. I'll get 6 money and it helps me out earlier, but I always have to pay the interest back. So you see how much you've got a loan for, you go around the thing that many times. Every time you cross this, your interest goes up by 1. If your interest goes up to the max, you get one of these negative reputation tokens, and it goes back down, so you're also in danger again. If you get 3 of these, you get -2 victory points, and also your own personal Inquisitor that will come and visit just you at the end of the Inquisition round. Right. Conversely, if you're doing really good, you get things that give you these positive reputation tokens. If you get 3 of them, you get to have an indulgence. Indulgence is used to act as a piece of the soul during the Inquisition to help you mitigate some of the negative effects that might be happening if you are being inquisited. There's one more section where you have to deal with the reputation and resolve that. So as you're taking your turn, you're having different things that affect your reputation. The person who's the lowest on the reputation track will then get one of these naughty tokens, as they call them, and that can affect your standing. And then once it's all resolved, you will then kind of start to push back towards the middle. Depending on what space you're on, it moves you back into the middle, because over time people forget your deeds and they don't really care long term whether you're good or bad. They just kind of are living their lives, and so it kind of continues to neutralize over the time, but you can get pretty far in either direction. Now that's the main flow of the whole game. There's 2 specific things that happen at specific rounds. On rounds 2 and 3, there is the witch trials, which is the fun sort of deduction calling out part. So as you're playing the game, you realize like people are doing different sorts of behaviors. Like maybe that person suddenly has a lot of resources. Wow, where'd those come from? Maybe they've sold their soul or a piece of their soul to get those. You can then choose to vote who you think might be missing some of their soul. Everyone puts this thing in the middle and they reveal. And if there's more than 2, that person has to either produce 3 pieces of soul to prove they're totally fine, or maybe they choose to not to, or maybe they can't, in which case they get a bit of a ding on their reputation and some other penalties potentially. That's the witch trials. That happens twice. And then on rounds 3 and 5, that's when the Inquisition comes to town. So you can try to pay off the Inquisition using some money you have. You can, if you're the devil, you want to try to reveal any souls you have, because you get bonus points and can also potentially make the Inquisition harder for other players. And if you're the cultist, you also might find that you have some of your souls successfully sold to the devil. You get bonus points for that. But for every Inquisitor that's coming in during that round, you have to produce a soul or an indulgence to block the negative effects that they're going to bring to the table. You may pick what you have if you don't have enough. So if I had 3 pieces of soul, I could be like, great, I'm going to block him and him, I'm good. If I had no soul, you would take net penalties based on what is happening on the cards. And basically after 5 rounds of the game, you're done, and you calculate victory points and do all the mathing stuff, and it's good.
That's a meaty game.
It's a meaty game, and it's got a lot of moving pieces to it, but I've played it a bunch of times now, and it's really, once you get over the initial, like, how does this work? It really clicks and feels juicy, and like even if you're not winning, in the end, you're doing a lot in the game, and it feels very tactile and like
decision making. There's
It's
a lot of decisions, to make, a
and
lot of bargaining, a lot of deduction.
Yeah, it moves
sounds
pretty
absolutely
fast
awesome.
too. It's a good time.
And it looks beautiful.
Yeah, I'm really happy with how it's come out. It's been such a, I don't know, it's been a fun game to work on and to be a part of.
Now, do you have a price point on what either of these games are shooting for?
Gosh, I don't entirely quote me because I think I need to check my notes, but I think this one's going to be around 69-ish, maybe a little bit more. I need to double check that.
And then Starship Captains?
Starship Captains, I think is going to be 59 roughly.
Somewhere around there.
It's,
okay.
it's in the ballpark of those. I would double check the information you have online because from the hip I can't remember exactly the prices, but they're meaty games, but they provide a lot of replay and there's a lot of different dynamics that happen in the experience.
And when can we expect these to come out?
So if you're going to Essen this year, you'll get to have opportunity to buy both of them in Europe. However, the US launch, we're aiming for PAX Unplugged, and that might be delayed a little bit depending on shipping stuff, but we expect to have some copies for PAX Unplugged of both at least. And then we'll have a larger retail release probably later before the end of the year.
Awesome.
In the winter time.
And then how can people pre-order this now?
Right now, I'm not entirely sure what our pre-order situation is. I know we're working with retailers to do sort of launch kits, so
sure.
We're not quite at that phase. We're still just finalizing and trying to get everything locked in, but there will be opportunities at some point to get in on things soon enough.
So definitely check out your friendly local game store if you want to pre-order this game. So it sounds like the best way to do it.
Absolutely.
But, all right, well, hey, Nathan, thank you for your time. We do appreciate it. And again, this has been Will from Mature Minded Gamers. Make sure you check out maturemindedgamers.com. We have Discord, we have audio podcasts, we do video, board games, pretty much a whole bunch of other great content. So be sure to check us out online. But until next time, everyone, stay safe and game on.